On the Happy Hour, Kelly Johnson, Ray Ratto, and our favorite lawyer, Steve Moskowitz, in the house for a little sports and law discussion, starting with Colin Kaepernick. He today personally attended, or yesterday, I should say, the depositions of Ravens general manager Ozzie Newsome and head coach John Harbaugh, as he did when the Texans owner, Bob McNair, was questioned in his collusion case against the NFL. Now, the importance of him being there is what?
It's for a fact because he has the right to do it, and there's some things he's forgetting about, like winning 1 game in 11 in 2016. And the big deal here is it's true. If the owners got together and said, hey, let's make a deal, then he would win. But if the owner says, you know what, I don't like you, I don't want you, and even if you are a better player than somebody else, I don't have to hire you. The whole thing is that each owner made his own decision. I don't want you, and that's fine. Not to mention the fact the guy won in 11 really, has a little bit of a problem trying to go on past glory.
Well, what exactly does this meeting accomplish short of Ozzie Newsome and John Harbaugh say, well, we thought about it, but it didn't happen? I mean, all they have to do is say that, and the meeting's basically shut down, isn't it?
That's right. As long as it's, I made my own decision. I don't care what your decision was. I didn't talk to you about it. We didn't communicate about it. You didn't text me, email me, talk to me, send me a smoke signal. Then it's fine.
What is the burden of proof? Paperwork, then? If you can show either an electronic or paper trail that says 2 owners talked about this, said we can't sign this guy, if that's sufficient, and that's my understanding, then this almost doesn't matter because no owner's in the room.
Almost, and what's going to happen is I'm sure that Colin's lawyer has hired an investigator, and they've looked for all that, and they had all kinds of discovery where they wanted all the records of the phone records and the cell phone records and the emails, and some IT guy comes up and says, look, there's no emails between these guys, there's no phone calls, and the guys say, I swear I didn't talk to him about that, and they walk away.
Is there anything with his case that is strengthened by the fact that, one, Eric Reed, his teammate, the one who most outwardly supported him and continued to kneel during the national anthem with the 49ers, is now still sitting on the street with no sniffs in free agency, despite being a young, good player, not young, but still, a high-caliber NFL player. Does that strengthen his case at all, that now he has a teammate who's basically joining him and being barred? Or
at law, what somebody would say is, so what? Again, let's not forget about the owner's rights as opposed to players' rights. An owner of any business can say, I don't want to hire you. Somebody could say, look, well, I'm 10 times more talented than that guy sitting in the waiting room. But the owner says, I don't want you. That's okay. Where it's not okay is to say, I don't want you because you're in a protected category like race or religion or gender. But if he says, you know what, I don't want you, that's it. And we look at, sometimes you have a player that's a first-round draft choice and it doesn't work out so well. But the bottom line is, as long as they didn't conspire, the owner has the absolute right to say, I don't want you, period.
Okay. In another case, LeBron James, his media company, Uninterrupted, is battling right now with the University of Alabama over an intellectual property dispute. And they're claiming, the Alabama Shop Talk web series, which takes place in a barbershop, has unlawfully copied protectable elements of The Shop, which also takes place in a barbershop and shows LeBron with Draymond Green. We've seen that. Alabama's doing a similar version. And they even have a similar symbols with the cutters only shaped pointed up and pointed down.
Yes, but I'm going to go for the school here. And the reason that I am is, first of all, the barbershop has such a large cultural impact. And there have been, movies about barbershops and other things. And the bottom line is, again, this comes up all the time, when people say you stole my song, no, I didn't. There's a lot of similarities. If we're covering LeBron angry about the Cavs right now and somebody else is covering it, how close might they be? And again, yes, there's a scissors there, but it's not highlighted like the other one up there. It's down here, it's small. And again, it's so important in the culture with the barbershop. I think the school is going to prevail.
Does this come down then to a question of whether the logos are too similar if everything else is protected? I mean, what would be the argument by which James could prevail?
That's where he'd have to say you were too close. But again, that could be a question of fact. If it's a jury trial, a jury, just like with the records, they'll listen to it and say, here's record 1, here's record 2. did they copy it? And the finder of the fact, whether it's a jury or if it's not a jury trial, a judge, will determine what are the facts. It's not a question of law here. It's a question of facts. Me personally, I think they're okay. I'm sure the lawyer on the other side feels differently, and then they'll bring in experts. And again, how many variations can you have on a scissors?
Now, obviously, when I thought about the barbershop, I thought about Coming to America. I thought about Barbershop, the movie. There's a lot of movies.
Sure.
There's a lot of similar scenarios. But the fact that it is basically almost using two very similar titles, two very similar symbols, with the idea that is unscripted. It's athletes, you know, sitting. Julio Jones does the Alabama one, and of course, Draymond Green, LeBron James. That the idea is so close to the same. Is there any, you know, they're talking about trademark and copyright and all these different infringements. Is there anything that?
Well, sure, but let's take a look at news reporting and everything else. If somebody is reporting on any major event, if LeBron James goes to another team, I'm sure everybody and their brother is going to be reporting on it. If you compared all the stations in the country, how much difference would there really be? You'd show clips, you'd have commentary, you'd talk about things. And again, it's did they copy each other or are they independent? And it's a question of fact.
The question of fact then, I mean, if it's left to a judge, I mean, how long does this, would this trial last? I mean, it just,
Judge,
how much, I mean, it seems like if, unless it's a jury trial, this should be handled in a day, right?
Judge trials are a lot quicker, but then again, it depends how much evidence they would have. If they brought in a lot of experts, that drags it on longer, and that's what they're taking a look at, be the facts. And if I was representing either side, I would show all my experts why it was so close or why it was so far apart, depending on what side I was on. And then somebody's going to decide, assuming there's no settlement.
Yeah. I mean, LeBron's company, they didn't pioneer the idea of a barbershop, but it does seem awfully similar. They do seem awfully close.
But again, if you're thinking about a barbershop, how much difference can it be? And he doesn't own it. That's a big concept in the community, and you can't just take it away and one person can't say it. Even sometimes big companies, when they're trying to do their name, they say, well, if it's too much in general, you can't use it.
All right, Steve Moskowitz, thanks.
Always a
This guy's
pleasure.
in legal trouble as well. We're going to talk about that next.
Maybe I should stay.